Welcome, welcome. We are so excited to have you here. I'm Paige Marsnick, the Director of Experiences here at MyRacehorse. A quick background about me is I have a background in equine science and management. I worked with our racing team prior to moving over to my position now. I absolutely love people as much as I love horses, so it was a great move to move over to customer experience. And today I am happy to be joined by Matthew O'Connor, our East Coast racing manager who, has trained for top or been the assistant for top trainers such as Nick Zito and has been a great stakes winning trainer himself going off on his own. Matt, thank you for joining us. And I can just say we're so excited to have you guys here. We're going to run through how to navigate the website, all the best ways to experience ownership through MyRacehorse. It's going to be quick, but we have lots of good stuff to go over, and then we're going to open it up at the end for a live Q&A. This whole webinar will be recorded by some of our wonderful staff behind the scenes, Nikki and Jen. They're going to record this video, and then they're going to send it out as an update afterwards so that you guys will have it and be able to click through on links. So we're super excited you're here. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please make sure to write them down, hold them. We're happy to answer those as we get to the end. But I think it's time to get started. What do you think, Matt?
Yep, sounds good. Let's get rolling.
All right, let's do it. So let's just talk about what you've purchased, or maybe you purchased multiple shares, which is fantastic. So you now own stock in an LLC that owns an asset, and that asset is the horse. So I know we have all kinds of owners on here over the last several months that have purchased multiple different horses we've offered on the website. And you guys are actual owners, which is amazing and so exciting. And what does that mean for you as an owner? Are you eligible for an owner's license? Matt, and I know you have a lot of experience, and it varies from track to track, but I believe 3% is the most common percentage. What would you say for? Yeah,
it
go ahead.
varies state to state, but 2.5% to 3% is the consensus there.
Yeah, so in order to qualify for an owner's license, you have to have 3% of a horse. But the great news is MyRacehorse has so many wonderful owner perks, and we offer those through our website. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth as we go through and talk about our owner perks and lotteries that we have. But yes, we offer all of our owner perks to our owners. So you are able to still participate in that through the ownership with MyRacehorse. All right, so we're going to move on to investing in a racehorse. And this is, your horse is an ownership company and it's for profit. So this means if your horse is ultimately profitable, meaning it exceeds, the cost exceeds, or the cost exceeds the expenses, you may receive a dividend. So if you receive more than $10 per year in your horse in dividends that we pay out, you will receive a 1099. We have a wonderful website and app. So if you haven't gone through and downloaded our app, please make sure you do that in the Google Play Store or App Store. There's a section for where you can click, and it's called the My Account section, and you'll be able to actually go in there and view your 1099s once you have them. So those usually go out around February or March the following year. So if you received over $10 in dividends in 2024, you would check in 2025 around that time. We'll send out notifications and emails, but it's a great way to quickly receive those. So that is what you've invested in with microshares. And now we do have some really exciting news for anybody that hasn't checked their emails today, is that we have indicate interest up, and it is going to be up till the end of today. So these are the 3 horses that we have right now that are on our offering pages, indicate interest, and that, as I said, will be closing today. These are 3 horses that our wonderful Bloodstock team purchased in Saratoga. I know Matt is going to dive deep into these horses, and he has so much great insight on these horses. So yeah, Matt, if you want to take it away and give us a little bit more insight about these horses, we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, so first off, we bought these all out of the Saratoga Select Sale, which is widely considered probably the premier yearling sale in North America. High prices, the best pedigrees, the best of the crop of yearlings are available for auction there. The first one we'll take a look at is Slam Dunk 24. She's a filly by Flightline. When we got to the sale, our bloodstock team and Michael, we all knew we wanted to add a progeny of Flightline. We were lucky enough to land her for 600,000. She's from the first crop of arguably one of the best racehorses ever, definitely one of the best in recent memory, and she's out of a Grade 1 place mare by perennial leading sire Into Mischief. This filly in particular, she'll go to be trained by Bill Mott on the East Coast. Bill Mott obviously trained Sovereignty to this year's Derby win and most recently Travers, and he's arguably the favorite for the Classic. So a fun barn to be in going into next year.
Absolutely. And I know we have so many people on here that have been watching the sport for a long time or are brand new. But either way, if you got a chance to watch Flightline, I mean, absolutely incredible. He is such a fun horse to watch. He just got the entire crowd excited and just, I mean, crazy fast. So now I know you mentioned Sovereignty, which, is hard to miss with obviously being Kentucky Derby winner this year. But Bill Mott is also known for training a lot of wonderful fillies. And with her being a filly, I think maybe you could touch a little bit more on that for us, Matt.
Yeah, Bill Mott, I mean, he gets good stock and he performs well with them across the board: turf, dirt, sprint, route, fillies, and colts. He's no stranger to fillies. He trained Champion Royal Delta, who was one of the better fillies of the last 20-some years, close hatches, a late Warlike Goddess, Isena, just to name a few. So she'll definitely be in good hands when she gets into Bill Mott's barn.
Absolutely. And I know we're all looking forward to her pre-training and then really excited to watching her move into Bill Mott's barn.
So the next one we'll take a look at is Confetti 24. He's a colt by Constitution. We ended up giving 525,000 for him. He was bought in conjunction with Wesley Ward, who will ultimately train the colt. He's by a leading sire in Constitution. Constitution has sired 4 champions through his first 7 crops. This colt in particular comes from a pretty deep family. If you go down his pedigree page, you'll see Breeders' Cup winner Kofifi, a Japanese champion in Yamen in Paradise, and of course a Grade 1 winner in Sire and Arch. Wesley's known for his many successes, particularly with having 2-year-olds ready to roll early in their juvenile year. He's been a trailblazer when it comes to taking horses from North America over to Europe, particularly to Royal Ascot. He has 12 career wins over there. This colt in particular, strong, good hip, good back leg. He's correct, good-minded, very efficient mechanically. So he was the complete package for us there.
Yeah, he definitely looks the part, and I'm a sucker for a horse with a powerhouse hind end, and he definitely looks like he has one. But you did mention Wesley and just, his wild success with young horses, and you have to just if you're going to Keeneland in the spring, he is the trainer to watch. Like everybody wants to see what horses he's putting on debut and all the young horses and what they're going to do. As you mentioned, him being an international traveler and trainer going over to England, he also has ran horses in France and Dubai. In fact, he just got back from France and he took a second-time starter over there, a horse named Outfielder, who went up against graded stakes horses and finished in the top 3 in the money. So, I mean, he is not scared to travel and take a chance, which is a very fun trainer to have if you are looking for an experiential trainer. And, he also is open arms about having people back to the barn and welcoming people in. So if you are looking for an experiential trainer, Wesley is definitely a good one to keep an eye out.
So the third and final of the new offerings we'll touch on is Thesis Break 24. He's a colt by Uncle Mo. We gave $350 for him at the Saratoga sale, which we would ultimately consider a value buy for that particular sale. The average this year, I believe, was just a tick north of $533,000 per lot. So a value buy at $350. He's by the late breed shaping sire Uncle Mo, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year. He's from a pretty precocious family. The Breeders' Cup winner and champion Boston Harbor, who was the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner in the late 90s, and ultimately champion 2-year-old, is down in his family. Physically, he's not your typical Uncle Mo. He's a little bit more compact, racy, a deep girth on him. He looks like he's built to be fast. A good mind, which you expect from a progeny of Uncle Mo, and mechanically he's just a super efficient mover, big walk. We were impressed with him, and we were frankly a bit shocked that we got him at $350,000. If he sells night 2, he probably sells for a fair bit more than that. He'll be going to the barn of Tom Amos. Tom Amos, no stranger to MyRacehorse. He won a graded stakes for us with 63 caliber not too long ago. Tom's also trained an ample amount of good horses. He's had a great year thus far in Saratoga. Very good with young horses. So he's another exciting barn to be in, coming in with a yearling going to the 2-year-old year.
Absolutely. And Tom is another one of our really big experiential trainers. And you mentioned 63 caliber. She is one of my favorite fillies or mares to go through our program. A beautiful gun runner, and he did a fantastic job with her. But with this horse being an Uncle Mo, my racehorse has had quite a bit of success lately with an Uncle Mo. There is a horse named Seismic Beauty in our stable, Matt, and I think you might be able to touch a little bit more base on this than I, but she just recently won the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup win in your end, Clement Hirsch, who is now headed to Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, she's a super exciting filly in the distaff division. So the distaff division being older fillies and mares. That's the division with Torpedo Anna in there. Torpedo Anna, just to give you perspective, ran, I believe, 100 buyer in the personal lens in Travers Day. Seismic Beauty ran 110 in the Clement Hirsch. So it's arguable that we're the leader in that division right now. So we're super excited to have her going. And obviously being a daughter of Uncle Mo, she's worth a fair bit of money too now. So it's been a successful offering in her respect.
Those are big words right there going up against Torpedo Anna, but I am here for it. She is an incredible filly and freaky fast. What were those splits in that race? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but she did the dirty work and got dug in down the lane and got her nose down.
Yeah, she is crazy fast. Torpedo Anna, so much respect to her too. So, I mean, obviously it'll be a race that is very exciting and coming up here the first week of November. So we will all be watching very closely. But with all that being said, and going over the 3 new horses that we have on our offering page, I did want to just extend a little bit about our offering page. And everybody looking for horses looks for different things. Some people might prefer a trainer or a circuit. Others might prefer fillies over colts, or they might look deep into the pedigree. They might like the name. Either way, all that information is on our offering page, and we recommend that you go read everything that we have on our offering page. There's so much great insights. We've got videos and photos, pedigrees, the share price breakdown. Everything is on there that you need to know. So go check that out if you're looking for any information. Additionally, always feel free to email our customer support team. We are happy to help and answer any questions that you might have. We have a wonderful FAQ page also that will be linked here when we upload this video to our YouTube channel later. And we have a fantastic educational hub that I think you guys will find very interesting, and that is growing every single day as we add more resources to that. I mentioned some people looking at horses because they like the name, but we have a very fun thing that we do here with MyRacehorse, and that is our naming contest. So when we own 100% of a horse, or we have fantastic partners that are happy to allow us to have a naming contest, we do send out a naming contest, and our owners get to submit all kinds of names, and it's super fun. It's so much fun. Can you imagine watching your horse cross the finish line and being like, that horse just won and I named the horse? We literally go through an entire process, and it's so fun. Obviously, we have to follow Jockey Club guidelines, but it is another great way for our owners to just be really hands-on and super involved. So that is one thing to look forward to as these horses get a little bit older. If your horse isn't already going through a naming contest, which some of you have horses that have been in our program a little bit longer, so you might already be experiencing this. But with that being said, I think we're ready to move on a little bit and talk about the training and the pre-training that these horses go through. And I'm going to pass this back over to Matt. Obviously, being a trainer, he's got a lot of great insight here. So Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so for the training timeline, for example, these 3 that we purchased at the select sale, they went from that select sale to the farms where they'll be pre-trained. So later on in their yearling year, towards usually October, they'll begin the breaking process. So that's getting used to having a saddle on their back, all the equipment, humans working around them, leg wraps, etc. So that's the base level of being a racehorse, and I would say that's more a behavioral thing. From there, they'll start going to on-track gallops and building a foundation of fitness. So they'll do that for an extended period with their pre-trainers. Each pre-trainer has their own kind of system that they'll put them through. So it's all subjective to where they're at. From there, once they have that foundation into the first quarter of next year, they should start picking up fast work, stronger gallops and breezes. They'll start with an eighth of a mile and progress to a quarter mile, 3/8, so on and so forth. Once their pre-trainers deem that they're fit enough for the racetrack and feel they're in good shape mentally and physically to go in, they'll ship off to the track to their farm trainers, or to their track trainers rather. And their track trainers will really just build off of that fitness and teaching that they've gotten into them pre-training. Once their track trainer feels they're fit enough and ready to compete in race, our racing team will sit down and talk with their trainers and look for the right spots to give our horses the best chances to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Matt, but babies are some of my favorites to follow along. And I do want to just say we have had owners who own 100% on their own, and I've had them reach out and say, I loved this pedigree in this horse, so I bought into this horse, and I've had so much fun following along through the updates. So with that being said, I just want to make sure that everybody has gone into the Google Play Store or the App Store and downloaded the app, because we do have a fantastic app, and it literally is ownership in the palm of your hands. So you can go and you can watch all of your horse's works, see the videos that our racing team, such as Matt, that they provide. And it is so much fun information. We've got analytics, we've got videos, we've got photos, we've got pedigree breakdowns, all the things that you could ever imagine for are there in our update section. So you can also go into your settings, into your account section, and change those to exactly whatever you want. If you want to get push notifications through the app and have that instant notification on your phone as soon as your horse works, it's there. It's there for you. If you'd rather wait and have it in an email, you can just receive emails. But that is probably one of the best parts about ownership through MyRacehorse. Arguably, it could be going to the races as well, but following along the journey is such a great way to enjoy MyRacehorse. Speaking of following along the journey and going to the races, I think we're ready to move on to the next part, which is off to the races. So, there's so many ways to enjoy ownership through MyRacehorse, and going to the races is a huge part of that. We have a great page called our perks page, and you can go in and go through the app or through the website, and when you're there, you'll click on the perks tab. You'll be able to see all of the perks that are offered for your horses. Scroll down, take a look, see what you like, click them all, whatever suits you best, but click on the ones that you're interested in. And then you're going to want to go in there and you're going to want to click the red button that's getting ready to pop up and click register. And once you do that, you will be entered into the lottery for the number of shares that you own. So let's say you bought 10 shares of Love Like Lucy, you will automatically be entered into that lottery 10 times. So it's just a really cool way for you to be able to have access to the lottery, or to the paddock, potentially winner's circle if the horses win. That being said, we do really advocate for our owners, and we try to work with as many trucks as possible. So while paddock is always limited, just for the safety of our humans and for our athletes, trainers, jockeys, everybody involved, that winner circle, we try to always get as many people in as we can. And if we can't get you in with the horse, we will try to do a second photo and get everybody in that one. And that has been a lot of fun for our owners. And we've just received so much great feedback about how exciting, like some of the best days of their life, being out there and enjoying that. So, fantastic way to enjoy perks. But now that we've talked about perks, we're going to move on to experiences, which is a different tab, and that will be on the right-hand side of your desktop, or also in the app as well. These are experiences that our events team puts on, and our events team does the most amazing work. Here you see Ocala Showcase, and that is probably, for me, Matt, I know this was your first showcase last year, so I'll let you talk about what you think about it, but my number one recommendation for a new owner would be to go to the Ocala Showcase. We have 2-year-olds training on the track. They come in, they walk into a paddock ring. You can see them up close and personal. Matt will go over all of the updates along with their pre-trainers. Right there, you see Dave Scanlon, who is very hands-on. And then you could go back to the barn. Matt, what did you think about your first showcase last year?
Yeah, the first thing was I was shocked to see how many people came out. I think we had around 400 people show up last year.
Yeah.
It's great to go and interact with all you guys if you do come out. And it's a good place to talk to the pre-trainers and learn a bit about that, talk to our racing team and learn about what we do. And yeah, overall, it's just a fun experience. You get to get up close and personal with your horses there. And it's really, there's not many negatives to it at all.
No, it is such an incredible event. And I think we've got some footage coming up here shortly. But we do also all kinds of events. And whether it is weekend getaways to Keeneland or international experiences, you can see here, we've taken owners to Dubai to go experience the World Cup, watch some of the best racing in the country. And then here you see we've taken a group of owners over to Royal Ascot, gotten to go to National Stud, gotten to go to the Jockey Club, which is it's a members only club. And we are fortunate enough to have wonderful working relationships with some of our team over in the UK who were able to get us into the Jockey Club. And what an incredible experience that was. Here you can see our owners at Royal Ascot. So always be sure, check your perks tab, check your experiences tab. They have different things, but you want to continually check them. We will try to send out as many updates as we can through the updates feed when we have new perks or whether their experiences, and those premium experience will also send out emails for along the way. So both fantastic ways to enjoy ownership. But now that we've got to talk a quick overview of ownership with MyRacehorse, I think we could go into what happens next. What happens when your horse is retired or we have sold the horse, Matt?
So yeah, every offering and horse their career with MyRacehorse will come to an end at some point. So there's several avenues where that happens. We'll touch quickly on a couple of them. First off, retired. Reasons for retirement could be anything from an injury to a horse just not being competitive enough to want to be a racehorse. In these occurrences, we have a great aftercare team who will retire these horses, have them retrained, and then eventually rehome their second home in another discipline. Another avenue would be selling them through public auction. So horses, typically ones who will deem to have residual breeding value, we may elect to sell those prospects either at the end of their careers or when we deem they're at peak value.
Yeah.
For example, yep.
I was just going to say, I know we have Going to Vegas up on the screen here, and you were going to talk a little bit about Going to Vegas. But before we jump into that, I did want to maybe just see if you could elaborate on what is residual value for some of our new people that are new to the game.
So residual value you'll typically see, I'd say the majority of the time in fillies and mares. What that is no matter what they do on the track, they may have a certain value in a monetary form to breed as a second career. As they progress through their careers, winning graded stakes and getting black type, which is performing in top 3 in stakes races, increases that residual value. And we've had horses like Going to Vegas and Rosie's Alibi Balletic who have built a fair enough resume throughout their career to be deemed suitable to breed.
To keep that residual value. And I'm just going to take a moment to applaud our racing team and our bloodstock team. I want to come back to Going to Vegas, but you mentioned Rosie's Alibi, and she was a Pennsylvania bred, and she was running, and we always felt she could be a stakes horse. And our racing team actually stepped in and said, hey, why don't we move this horse and see if she can get a stakes win in the state that she qualifies for that breeding money incentive. And so that's what we did with Rosie's Alibi. It worked out phenomenal. And then she went on to the sale and did quite well. So before we talk about Going to Vegas, Matt, I know Going to Vegas or Rosie's Alibi might have been a little bit before you, but I think you guys do such a great job from racing and not just providing updates and insights and expertise, but also making sure that we're managing our horses the right way and what's best for our owners.
Yeah, we the racing team, myself, Joe Moran, Brian DiDonato, we manage these horses as if they're ours. So we're looking to get the most out of each individual horse, whether that means moving them from one trainer to another or from one racing jurisdiction to another jurisdiction where we feel they'll be more competitive. We're always fluid, and obviously it's very subjective on a horse by horse basis, but we want to put them where they're going to be able to achieve their peak ability.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, what more can you ask for? We have so many great horsemen through in our program that are helping making sure that all these horses are receiving the best care and in the right places for them. So here we have Going to Vegas. Obviously, she's up there for a reason. She was a horse that came through our program, and she later was sold as a mare. She brought top dollar. So when we talk about residual value, we talk about what they can bring when they go to the sales ring as a mare. And that being whether they've black type or, they've gone on to win graded races, such as Going to Vegas. And she ended up coming in or getting bred to Equinox, later selling her foal in Japan and bringing $3 million. Like, incredible. Wow. But there are horses that don't make it to the races or do, and they don't do well. But what our bloodstock team does such a fantastic job in is buying horses that do carry that residual value, which is their pedigree. And so we've seen anywhere from them when they don't do well on the track, still bring about 85% of what we purchased them for, and all the way down to about 15%. But different from colts or geldings, if they don't make it to become that stallion, they're not going to bring as much in the sales ring as they do for these fillies with residual value. So people, they want to win the Derby, they want to buy a colt, and they go in on those young colts. There's people that say, hey, you know what? I love a filly with a good pedigree. I'm interested in the residual value. If she doesn't do well on the track, she could come back and potentially have value in the sales ring as a broodmare. So that being said, I'm going to let you go on and go to the next way that a horse could move on through MyRacehorse.
Yeah, so we'll touch essentially on the colts now who are successful. So colts who are successful, typically they have to be graded stake winners, particularly grade 1 or multiple grade 1 winners, to be able to acquire to get a stallion deal. So we've been fortunate here. We've had Authentic, Seize the Gray, and Straight No Chaser, who are 3 horses in 2024, 2025, and next year respectively, who we were able to attain breeding deals for. So essentially what that means is it's an agreement between us and a breeding farmer operation where they acquire the rights to breed the horse at the conclusion of their career. We may retain a stake in them as a stallion prospect, which is what we did with the Authentic and Seize the Gray. In other cases, we may elect to sell it all. But it's an avenue that it's a very, 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 very small chance that it happens, but it's one that reaps the highest rewards.
Yeah. So I, just being like an avid racehorse person in general outside of MyRacehorse, I'm going to take a moment to just acknowledge the accomplishment of having 3 stallions come through our program. There are farms that have been doing this for decades that aren't able to accomplish that. So, I mean, just another testament to Matt and the rest of our racing team and our bloodstock team. And what an incredible job that they do. It's phenomenal to watch, and it's so exciting. And Matt went over a couple of the horses that we've had in the past. But that being said, I think we have a lot of exciting young horses. We just had an offering, Puka 24. And Matt, talk about the breeding on that horse, please. Like, just fill us in.
Well, yeah, I would go as far as saying that the Puka yearling isn't blue-blooded; he's purple-blooded. There's not. It doesn't get much better. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than him. I mean, the mare Puka, obviously through Dornoch, Mage, 2 classic winners there, and then most recently Baeza, who is classic place. He was 3rd in the Derby, and I believe 3rd in the Belmont. He still has a long career ahead of him, probably. But yeah, the Puka yearling by Good Magic, so it makes him a full Mage and Dornoch. I think he sold out today, so he's no longer available. But he's probably one of the most exciting prospects to come along in racing, following that lineage, and probably the most exciting to be brought to you in the microshare platform?
It is a royal bloodline, and that is what is so incredible about MyRacehorse. And my favorite part of being a part of this company is it brings the unattainable to everyone. I mean, that horse would be millions and millions of dollars, and now you're able to go along and be a part of that journey. I mean, for less than $100, like that's incredible. And I know you talked about the bloodline, and we've talked a lot about sires. I have to give a shout out to all of the mares, and Puka is definitely one of them. There are a few mares that just all they throw is graded stakes winners. And so far, she's turning out to be one of those mares. So it's been super fun and super exciting to watch. So yeah, I know there's one more way that we have to talk about how horses can leave our stable. And Matt, I'll let you dive into that.
Yeah, so the final way that a horse would ultimately leave our stable would be if they're claimed away. So not all horses are competitive at the highest levels of the game, and that's just how it is. So we may elect to provide them some class release, and that may mean putting them in for a claiming race. So a claiming race is just a race where all horses in that specific race are for sale at a set price. So it's inevitable that you may have horses claimed away from you, but we do follow them, make sure everything's good with them, and ultimately, if retirement is necessary there, we're always willing to help their owners at the time in finding them a second home and getting them retrained and rehomed.
Yeah, I know you touched a little bit about our equine welfare program at the beginning and that team. And that team is spearheaded by some fantastic people. Our bloodstock and racing team is included in there. We regularly monitor all of our horses in our stable and make sure that they're thriving. They want to be a racehorse. They want to be there. They're showing up. They're competitive. And then we also monitor the horses that our previous MyRacehorse racehorses and making sure that they're doing the same. And we're always happy to step in and say, hey, you know what? Like you've acquired this horse and it looks like you've been training in this discipline. Maybe it's time to move it on to a different discipline. Please let us help. We're happy to do so. We are also going to include the link here for our transition page, and that is a great place to go and read all of the stories of every horse that has left our stable. So my absolute favorite part about MyRacehorse is number one, our dedication to the horse. It comes above all else. Above being a racehorse, it's just about the safety and the welfare of the horse. And so this is a great place to go and see. We will always love every horse that goes through our stable. So if you have a chance, check out that link. But I think this is a perfect time now, Matt, for us to move on to the much anticipated live Q&A. So we're going to have Nikki and Jen in the back. They're going to bring these questions up on the screen for us so that we can get started and answer some of these questions that you guys have. Some of my absolute favorite part of working with the owners too is just being able to, explain some questions that they might have and more about what we can do as MyRacehorse. So let's see what we have coming up here. And as a reminder, don't forget, we're going to upload this and you guys will be able to rewatch it and click all of the links. So the first one is, how do race plans get determined? And Marvin submitted that for us.
So Marvin, race plans are determined between us, the racing team, and the respective horses' trainers. So it will have to be when the trainers feel they're ready to run, obviously, and when a race that they fit in is scheduled to be run. Those are found in the condition book, and I know we'll have the education center where you can go in there and click through, and it could go a little bit more in depth. But yeah, so there's a schedule of races. We work in conjunction with their trainers, and we find the right spots where they can be the most competitive.
Absolutely. We are going to link our education hub here because he made it seem super light and airy, but the condition book is a very in-depth thing to understand. Races going, not going, filling, moving around, extras being brought back, overnights, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you check out our education hub. It's a great place to go get more information. And as I said, always feel free to email our customer support team. We're happy to help anytime. And just want to remind you guys, we are going to try to keep this live Q&A between 10 to 15 minutes. We've taken up a lot of your time and we appreciate you guys joining in and being a part of this. But we don't want to take up too much of your time. So we are going to move on to the next question that we have. And oh goodness, okay, I think my age is gonna tell on me a little bit because I don't know if I can read that. Can I still profit on any of the horses I buy after their racing career is over? Like if my filly I own has a baby and sells, for example, $2 million. This is a fantastic question and one we get all the time. I don't think people fully realize it. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier with Matt saying, what happens when your horse retires, but once those horses are sold or they move on to another career, and we will let you know that we no longer own or retain ownership in that horse. And once we no longer retain ownership in that horse, as a mare, we do not participate in any of the revenue that they bring in because the owner of that mare is having to pay stallion fees. And Matt, I mean, feel free to jump in here and explain how crazy some of those stallion fees can be, like into mischief.
Yeah, there's stallions just stand for up to $250,000, but I think this question in particular, and we'd use going to Vegas as an example or Rosie's Alibi as an example. When we have an asset or a horse in an offering and we deem they're at peak value, typically we'll end up auctioning them off to a new owner. So at that point, the proceeds from the sale will get paid out to all you guys, the shareholders. But from that point going forward, we wouldn't own the horse. Therefore, there wouldn't be anything after that.
Absolutely. And our team will send out what's called a series closure letter. So you will be fully aware and know what's going on. We will pay out any money that's left over in the reserve at that time, if there is any to be paid out. So you will have a full financial breakdown at the end of that series closure, which is a great thing to provide to your CPA. So we're going to move on to the next question. And that is, a good one. How are trainers selected? This is one of my favorite questions. Do trainers request specific horses, or does MyRacehorse contract the trainer? And I know there's a little bit of both going on here. So Matt, why don't you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we get to the sale grounds, we have an idea of who we're buying for. When we're there, we look for certain trainers like certain types of horses. So Wesley likes horses who are built more to be turf sprinter-esque. Whereas Bob Baffert likes horses who are a little bit more, have more substance to them. They're stockier, quarter horse looking types.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we know that end. But there are occurrences where we're at the sale and we buy a horse and we have a trainer come up to us and say, "Hey, I love that horse. He's my favorite one in the sale. Can I train him?" For example, Native Brew, Steve Asmussen approached us after we bought him, and Instant Impact, another one that we bought on our own, that Kenny McPeak approached us and actually brought a partner on for the horse. So
yeah. Absolutely. And, speaking of trainers coming up, not only have they said, "Hey, can I train this horse for you?" They said, "Hey, can I go in on this horse with you?" So I know we've had horses with Kenny and with Wesley, and they've actually owned part of those horses that we have. And, it's always really nice to see a trainer that's not just interested in training the horse, but interested in the overall outcome of the horse on a day-to-day basis, financially and on the racetrack.
yeah, we want to send horses to trainers who are happy to have the horse and want to have the horse. So that's obviously a big check off our list when we can do that.
Yes. So thank you so much, Nancy, for that question. That's a wonderful question and one that we do see quite a bit come through our inbox. So we're going to move on to the next question. And we have John here. So we'd like to see Native Brew in rehab because we live in North Texas, not far from where he is recovering from surgery. Is that possible?
So eventually, we will probably have a lottery to get out to Highlander and visit him. But just keep an eye on the perks tab, I believe it is what it'll be under. So keep an eye
Yeah.
on the perks tab for when we can schedule that. Obviously, we'll give him some time to recover from the procedure that he just recently had. But down the line, I'm sure we'll have something up there.
Absolutely. Yeah, Matt, thank you for that. And I know that we do have a lot of great partnerships and whatever we send the horse, but in Texas especially, they have been very welcoming in having owners come out and visit them. We always just want to make sure that we do it in the safest way possible and when the horses are ready for us to come visit. So thank you, John, for submitting that question. We are ready for the next one. Any chances of experiences at Monmouth? We actually have had some great experiences at Monmouth. We do have an employee that is up in the New Jersey area and loves to go to Monmouth. So yes, it all depends on what horses we have up there and what races. I mean, we do our experiences. Sometimes those are just based off of big race days and not necessarily our horses and what they're running in, which is what really starts to establish the difference between owner perks, which are always revolved around the horse, and what the track has said, hey, you know what, as an owner, you guys deserve to have paddock passes. You guys get this seating, versus the experience where we say, hey, we have a group of people that are here because they love horse racing and they want to experience horse racing. And we know how to do it. So we will throw events all over the place. It just depends and it varies on, what the circumstances is and what races are going on. So we have had experiences at Monmouth, and I know we will have them again in the future, but they will show up under our experiences tab or potentially under our perks tab, hopefully, if we have horses running in stakes races there. Okay, I think we have time right now for maybe about 2 more questions. So I know we're going to have Jen and Nikki give us a few more, but I think we can squeeze in a little bit for a little bit more time for 2 more. So let's see what we have. Okay, Rebecca, I am close enough to the track to watch my horse regularly. Do I need an owner's license?
So yeah, if the track offers access to the grandstand to the public, you guys are obviously more than welcome to go out and see if you could catch your horses on the track. As for access to the barn area and the backside restricted areas, you would need an owner's license, and MyRacehorse doesn't afford you the opportunity through micro shares. So it's if the track gives access, for example, Saratoga is open grandstand for morning training. Keeneland's open grandstand for morning training. Sometimes we'll even do free morning training events where, for example, we have one here tomorrow at Saratoga that I'm doing. So you guys have access to come watch your horses, but you won't have access unless a MyRacehorse representative is with you, or you win a lottery or perk or something like that to get into the barn.
Yeah, and a couple of points I want to touch on with that. One, if you are able to go to the Saratoga Morning Works with Matt, do it. It is incredible. He is such a great host and goes over all the horses that are going by. He knows the top horses, not just our runners. You'll get a rub elbows with some of the trainers and jockeys that are up there. So make sure you do that. Same with our Keeneland experiences. We do try to host what's called a paddock parade in the morning during Keeneland. Keeneland is a very, very busy time of year. And so we work with our trainers if we have multiple horses at Keeneland, and we try to coordinate for them all to come up at the paddock during the same time. It's a free event. We just want our owners to be able to have a chance to come out and see their horses. The trainers will sometimes come up and talk. And it's just really cool to watch your horses train. Obviously, Keeneland is beautiful. Keeneland in the morning and the fall or spring is the place to be if you love horses and you want to see other trainers and jockeys. So that is absolutely something to do. And Matt mentioned that we do this. You're allowed to go back to tracks that are public, but not to the barns if you don't have an owner's license. That being said, is even if you do have an owner's license, you still have to coordinate with the trainers to make sure that they're comfortable with you coming around during that time, because I think sometimes people forget, Matt, and you know this firsthand being a trainer, is that is their office. It is like if you just showed up in an attorney's office randomly and were like, hey, can you walk me through this? It can be sometimes a little bit disruptive when they're trying to train other horses and have other owners coming to visit. So we love to have all of our owners out. We try to have them out as much as possible. And I would say our ownership group probably gives more access than any other ownership group, and sometimes even individual owners. But we do try to just always respect, the time and the other horses of trainers and what they have in their barn. So great question, Rebecca. We will do our best to make sure that you get out there as many times as possible. That's, as I mentioned, check your perks and experiences tab, because I think we just added 5 different morning works at Keeneland. 5. So we do definitely get you guys out there to go see your horse, and it is a super fun morning. So come out and see us. Make sure you go into your perks section and register for those perks. All right, last question. Winner's Circle. I saw a picture that you had quite a few people in the Winner's Circle. How does that work? I'm happy to explain this, or Matt, you want to take it away?
Sure, and then you could pick up on what I left off. So winner circle, the main thing with the winner circle is we want to do it in the safest way possible for the horse themselves and everybody in there. So we do try to get as many as we can in the winner circle up to a point where we deem it's still safe for the horse. Once we take an initial photo, we'll get the horse out of the winner circle and we'll bring everyone else in. But we do try to get everybody a picture in the winner circle when we are lucky enough to win a race.
Yes. So I'm just going to go, I'm a science nerd. So I'm just going to build off on that a little bit because I know we've had owners come in before and say, why can't the horse stand longer for the winner circle picture? And after any time a horse does a significant amount of work or endures, obviously going through a race, they can build up lactic acid in their muscles, which will cause a horse to tie up. And then that obviously changes the way that they move and makes them really stiff. So when we do our winner circle pictures, those horses, you'll see them every time that they make a circle on the track and they come back and they jog. All that is to prevent them from tying up. They're going to come into the winner circle. We're going to get that photo with the horse, but you will see the groom is always antsy to keep that horse moving. So obviously safety of humans, safety of the horse. We're going to then have the horse go out to make sure that, the horse is not getting lactic acid buildup in his muscle. But then we will do a second photo anytime we can. And we will always discuss with the tracks prior to make sure that that is something that they're happy with doing. And they've been very receptive to MyRacehorse. We're all excited to have so many people in the game. It's such a fun sport and we're glad you guys are here. So we do usually try to take 2 winner circle photos, as Matt mentioned. It's really about the safety of the humans and the horses both. I think that wraps up our live here. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us. I had a wonderful time being able to explain a quick overview of MyRacehorse and the experience and the best ways to go about that. As I mentioned before, be sure to download the app so that you're getting all of the updates. You can do this in the Google Play Store and the App Store. Also, as a reminder, this entire video is going to be uploaded and sent out to all of you all that joined us today, and it'll have links in it. So give our team a little bit of time to get those links uploaded. They'll be clickable, and it just takes our team going through and adding those. And then if you enjoyed this webinar and you'd like to join another one, please make sure you check out the link that's going to be uploaded here and make sure to subscribe to our next webinar. We don't have a date yet, but we are working on getting that next one added. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. So thank you so much for enjoying us. We are happy that you were able to come and we look forward to seeing you guys at the races.